Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'm Den Haring. My channel is Fish Den 365, and today we're going to be talking about a subject that was brought up from a comment from one of my followers. I think his name is Cal Lassiter, and Cal was sharing a frustration that he has with using a leader with your main line, tying a knot and having that knot come through the reel and come through the guides and the rods. So today I'm going to show you the knot that I use. It's a simple knot, it's easy to tie, but there's a couple of specific things I do with this knot that make a huge difference with allowing it to pass through your guides. But before we show you the knot that we tie, we should talk about the guides themselves, because that makes a difference too. Take a look at this rod. Hopefully you can see, I'm going to show this pretty closely to the camera, and I'm going to hold this rod still, and I'm hoping that the camera will focus on the size of these guides. They're very, very small diameter, and the idea was, these became popular quite a number of years ago. The idea was that it'll focus the line, it'll help shoot the line out, it'll help you make smoother, more accurate, longer casts. Personally, I don't think it makes any difference, very little difference that I can tell, from a guide like something like this. Hopefully you can see this guide. These guides are small, but they're quite a bit larger in diameter, much more room for a knot to get through them. And so I've stopped using rods that have these micro guides, they call them, and started using rods that have guides that are still small, but not micro. Here's another rod. This is a Dobbins Fury rod here. You can see those. Hopefully you can see the guide size on that. And then here is a Ducket rod that I like as well, and you can see the guides on this are also larger in diameter, but still small enough to shoot the line out. I haven't noticed any difference in casting accuracy or length of cast with these larger guides. So that's one thing. Now you can still get the knot to go through the guides on this rod. It's just you have to be very good at tying the knot that I'm going to show you, and there's a few things you can do to help that knot slide through. But I think for those of us who've used leaders and tying the knot to the main line, it started to become an issue when we went to these micro guide rods. It's just a lot harder to get the line through something of that small diameter. So I avoid those rods now. I don't feel that I lost anything. I mean, these are old carrot sticks. You can't get them anymore anyway. And these other two rods, especially the Dobbins Fury, I mean, they're just as light and they're just as good of a rod. So that's one thing, is to if you're buying new rods, think about the size of the guides. You probably want to avoid the micro guides if you're going to use a leader. It just makes it that much easier for the knot to pass through. But now we're going to show you the knot. So I'm going to change the angle of this camera and try to have it over the shoulder so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I've got the camera oriented in the right way here. I'm going to first take my leader, and I want 2 rod lengths of leaders, so I'm just going to pull 2 rod lengths off. I just happen to know that that is also my wingspan, so I'm going to cut the line here so that I have my leader, and I'll explain everything here in a minute. So now, put that out of the way. I've got a 15-pound test fluorocarbon leader in my hands on the left side, and I have a 20-pound test braided line on the right side. And I'm going to show you the knot that I use. It's a uni-to-uni knot, a very simple knot to tie, very effective if you do it right. I'm going to show you some things here with the uni-to-uni that other people wouldn't know about or wouldn't do, but it makes a huge difference in the strength of the knot and also allowing the knot to pass through your guides. So the first and most important thing right away is to have the leader in your left hand. Leader in your left hand and the braided line in your right hand. So the braided line is the main line for the reel, and the leader in the left hand. Why do we have it in the left hand? The reason why is because when this knot is finished, you want the tag end of the leader, the stiffer line, because braid is very, very no memory, not stiff at all. The leader, whether it's mono or fluoro, is quite stiff. You want the tag end pointing towards the reel so that when you cast your lure out, the tag end isn't hitting all of your guides. It's pointing towards the reel. So the tag end gets out of your guides very easily. If you did it the other way around, the tag end would be sticking out and bumping each guide as it's going through your rod guides. That's no good. So the most important thing, most people probably don't even think about it, is to have the leader in your on the left side. I'm going to tie a uni to uni. Most of you probably know how to tie this. I'm going to use 5 loops. I'm going to start with the leader side. 5 loops. I do 1. And you look up this knot. There's 1,001 videos on it. Here's 2. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. 3. 4. And 5. So I've got one side ready to go. That's the leader side. I'm just going to hold that now, and now I'm going to take the braided line and make 5 loops on that. So 5 loops with braid. One, 2, 3. I'm using my mouth to pull it through. 4 and 5. And now I've got my knot set up. So I started with my leader in my left hand. It's over on the right side. I started with my braid on the right hand. It's over on the left. It's very important, the next step, to wet this line. Usually I have a cup of water and I just dip it in the cup of water. The wetter the better. I don't have a cup available, so I'm just going to use my saliva to do this right now. I've goovered it up really good. I start to draw them tight. Notice they're not completely tight. I don't want them to be completely tight yet. I want to draw them a little bit further down on the fluoro side. And then I'm going to use my hand to hold the braided line along the fluoro leader, and I'm going to use my mouth, my teeth, to grab the fluoro leader. Hopefully you can see this. And I'm just going to draw everything tight. My teeth are what's holding on to the fluoro. This is important because I want this part of the knot to be very good. So I'm just going to draw them together now. You can see what's happening here. I leave my teeth on there, but I draw it tight from the line end, not from my teeth. The line end. And the reason for that is that I want that knot to loop over itself very well, just the way it did here. Then, once I have that the way I want it, then I'll tighten. I will pull on the tag ends as well. Right here. Now, another very important part. So we've got a really good looking knot here. We have it just the way it should be. Nothing. You want these turns, and hopefully you can see this. I'll try and magnify this as best I can. You don't want the turns running over themselves, because if they run over themselves, they can cut into themselves and the line can break. Now you've noticed I used 5 turns on both sides. 5 turns with the braid, 5 turns with the fluoro. I have found that when I'm using 20-pound test braid, all the way up to 50-pound test braid, and I'm using all the way down to 8-pound test fluoro or mono, all the way up to 17-pound test fluoro and mono, I use 5 turns on both sides. And I found that this works very good. I found that if you put too many turns on, say 7 on one side, it cuts into itself and it'll break a lot easier. 5 and 5 for me have been extremely strong. And the reason why it's stronger is something I'm going to show you here in a minute. But first, the first thing I want to do next now is take that tag end of the fluoro and actually pull it down. Pull it down towards the line, towards the main line. The reason why I'm doing that is I actually want it to be close to the line. So now I'm going to snip it off. I'm going to use a cutters to do that. I'm going to snip it and probably have about a 1/2 millimeter sticking out. Maybe not even that much. So you can see there's a little bit of line sticking out there. I want a little bit sticking out. And what I could do, if I had one with me, is I'd actually take a pliers and press that tag end down towards the line. But you can use your fingernails to do this too. because it'll actually stay down there. See how it's stayed very close to the line? Hopefully you can see that. You actually bend it down, and if you bend it down, it'll stay there. So hopefully you can see that. Okay, then on the braid side, you need a scissors. I need a scissors to cut that. The braid I don't care about though, because it's so flexible, it isn't gonna hang up in your rod guides or your reel guide or anything like that. Again, I'll leave about a 1/2 millimeter, and there's my knot. Again, I'm gonna press down on that fluoro side just to get it to be closer to the line. Now, if it still sticks up too much, you could always just take your cutters and just nip it down a little more. You just want a little bit of a tag in there in case it slips a little bit. I haven't had that kind of problem, but if it doesn't tie right, that can happen. Now for the last step. I take head cement, fly fishing head cement. This is made by Loon Outdoors. Hard head, it's clear. It's used for fly fishing, but I found that it works really well putting it on line. It doesn't damage the line, and it makes it smoother and makes it come through the guides better, and it protects it from going through those guides over and over again, so it'll last much longer. So I'm just going to take a Q-tip and get a good bubble of that stuff on the Q-tip, and then I'm going to put it on the knot. I'm just going to spread it all over the knot so that it makes a good coating over the whole thing. And there you have it. That'll take about a minute or two to dry. Doesn't take long at all. Now I'll use that. You know, people might want to know, how long will that knot last? If you tie that knot well, it'll last very long. It won't break. It won't fail. And you know, I'll use it for, I'll fish it for an 8-hour day. I might clip down the other side of my leader, the bait side of it, because it might get nicked up on rocks and stuff like that. Usually I'll fish it for 2 8-hour days. You know, if I fish a couple of 4-hour trips, then I just add those hours, and I might fish 4 4-hour trips then. So, but usually it's good for about 16 hours before I think I need to change that knot and change that leader. That's pretty good. That's at least a trip or two. So that's what I do. That's how I tie this knot. And here it is again, just to see how it looks. So that's the uni to uni knot and all the details that allow me to tie a knot that won't fail and goes through the reel guide and the rod guides just fine. The next thing I would suggest, if you want to do this, is to practice this knot. Practice it over and over again. Take an evening and just keep tying that knot, making sure the loops are the way they should be. You know, you want to inspect the knot. Do everything that I did. Tie the knot, put the stuff on it, the head cement, make sure it's good and strong. And but you know, we talk about preparation as being a big thing, right? This whole channel is about the art and science of bass fishing. This is part art, part science, right? Tying these knots, doing it the right way, doing it over and over again. When we talk about the top 5 reasons why people lose fish, number 1 or 2 is lack of preparation, not being prepared. Tying knots like this is part of the preparation. Jay, I hope this helps with your fishing. Try this out. See if it doesn't allow you to get your knots through the guides that much easier. Hopefully it solves that problem for you. If you like this video, give me the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Can't wait to get back out in the water myself. Hope to see you out there. Don't forget to comment, share the videos. I enjoy bringing them to you, and I appreciate you watching them. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe out there, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.